everybody. Welcome back to another episode of The Lost Guys. I am joined with the inimitable Nolan Thunder and the inscrutable Martin Stone. Gentlemen, how are you today?
Doing well.
Rockin'.
Thank you so much for another, I'm sure will be a fantastic episode, and I'm so glad to talk to you both. Are you guys hungry?
I'm always hungry.
Always hungry. What do you do? What do you do when you're hungry? Where do you guys turn to? What is it that satisfies those hunger cravings?
Ooh, it kind of depends on the mood, but I'm a pizza man myself. I love pizza.
Oh,
I gotta say, I love a good burger.
That's the answer I was looking for, because today we are going to be talking about
Burger King.
burgers. Well, we're going to get to that, but we're going to be talking about those burgers that we used to always know and love from McDonald's, and not just those classic styrofoam and I guess they turn into paper wrapping, but we're going to be talking about the actual McDonald's land characters, as well as any other characters that we think that we can pop up to our mind. And those were the Burger King Kids Club characters that we're going to get to in a moment. And if I can just get my screen to work, I will put up a picture of these McDonald's characters and we will take it away from there. Here we go. So,
wait, why is this like a crime scene?
Well, I guess I mean, one
Big
of them
Mac
is
investigating himself.
Like there's Hamburglar, like he is a villain.
Like I understand, because I did have nightmares about Ronald McDonald when I was young, but like, geez.
Yeah, but Big Mac is in the lineup. He's the constable. Who's investigating Big Mac?
Oh, this system is rigged. Did the Burger King people take over and are holding everyone from the McDonald's regime hostage?
It's possible. I think this is just more of a size comparison so that they know how big the mascots are. Unless it really is like a lineup. But anyway, these guys, what happened to them? Where are they? We don't see them anymore.
Who the heck is Uncle O'Grimacy, and why is he going to haunt my dreams?
Yeah, I don't really recognize that guy myself.
They used him a bit for the Shamrock Shake promotions.
Oh,
yeah. Oh, that's a throwback.
Well, see, I mean, out of all of these, I recognize the Hamburglar. I recognize those, like, what are they, like the goblins? Obviously,
no, those are the Fry Guys.
Oh, those are the Fry Guys. Oh,
or maybe they're not.
No, those are the goblins.
Well, who are the Fry Guys then?
There's very few characters I really know, because like when I was growing up, like they were kind of phasing out the McDonald's mascot push because of all the health food focus at the time. Like this was after the Supersize documentary. So I knew like Ronald, Hamburglar. I think I'd seen Grimace, and what's the name of the bird? Sorry, I'm
the early bird.
Insulting the McDonald's fans.
The early bird.
Yes. So you got
Birdie the early bird.
Oh, that mix. Oh, that was what they were going for. Okay, I get that now. So they haven't been as heavy focused on these characters as they were in the 80s, which is kind of a shame because they were really marketing genius.
Yeah, they were. And you know, the funny thing is when you look at them, you kind of like as a kid, you look through things at the eyes of a child, right? And so you think to yourself, well, this makes complete sense. You've got this purple thing, you've got the Hamburglar, you've got these weird like pom-poms with legs. But then when you kind of look at them from the eyes of an adult, you start to kind of question your sanity a little bit and think like, how did they actually come up with this and put all these characters together?
And why are 4 of those creatures the stuff of my nightmares?
Yeah. Well, it's well, anyway.
Have you seen Hamburglar's nose? Or those Grimace TikTok trend that was going on last year where he was murdering everybody? It was scary, dude.
Well, I mean, I was going to get to that, the whole Grimace shake thing, but like, let's look at this photo right here. You got a bunch of pom-poms without mouths. Like, how do they even eat things?
I'm certain those are the Fry Guys.
Those are the Fry Guys. Yeah, but they're on roller skates.
Yeah, some of them, yeah. Because why not?
Captain. See, this photo I recognize a bit more because they've animated up the Hamburglar a bit more, because in the previous one, he looked kind of, like the type of guy you'd see in an alley at night, and that was kind of scary. But they've now sort of cartoonified them a little bit, and I think this picture on the screen,
fine. This is completely fine.
These are the quintessential McDonald's characters, right?
Mm-hmm.
Except for that professor guy. Like, I don't remember that guy.
He didn't speak a whole lot, but
Okay.
they kind of did more stuff with him in the 80s.
Right.
Yeah, because they had the whole McDonald's land thing. They had like a whole set, and it was really neat looking, and it was there to sell the food to the kids. And I'd say it worked, honestly, because everybody remembers these and would like to see them, utilized more instead of just looking like generic store.
Well, yeah, that's part of it, right? McDonald's, I feel, has lost something in the last.
It's lost its childhood innocence.
It's lost its childhood innocence, and it used to be comfy. It used to be like a place where you would go, and it had this kind of nice, not kitschy feel, but sort of like, I don't know. I don't even know
Otherworldly?
Otherworldly, like,
Like you were stepping into a weird place. Like, did any of the McDonald's that you guys had growing up? Did you see like the benches, like the individual seats at a counter?
Yeah.
Those seats would be designed like the Fry Guys.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what they were going for. Oh, that makes sense. Okay.
And then the play areas that were shaped like Big Mac and Mayor McCheese, and the characters were things you could climb on or be in and things like that.
Yes, like the play place was all themed, and some of them were also massive back then too. Like I remember there was some of them that would have like a special like GameCube kiosk that you could go to, and you could play like Tak and the Power of Juju or something like that. It was cool, even if the controllers were really, really gross for obvious reasons.
But like, this is what you're talking about, right, Martin?
Yeah. Although some of the ones I remember are even older, they didn't have backs on them. You just sat right down on top of the Fry Guy.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Those burger ones, like, those are hilarious.
Well, and I really feel that McDonald's has lost something with what would you call it? Like the streamlining of all of their restaurants, all having to fit this sort of common looking feel where they're kind of cold and gray and taupe, and
the food is already not great for you, and now the environment also makes you depressed. Like, now this actually kind of has some whimsical charm to it.
Well,
yeah, somebody tweeted the other day a meme. I'm sure it's been around a lot of places, but like they went from being a happy kid to being a sad middle-aged guy.
That's true.
That's a great analogy.
That is a really great analogy. I mean, when you look at this photo, like any kid would go bonkers wanting to come here. Like, I know I did. Like, I was always begging my parents to be like, oh, come on, please take me to McDonald's. And like, when you found one of those places that actually had a McDonald's land like this, it was heaven.
Mm-hmm.
It felt like you were there forever, even though it might have only been
towering
like
slides. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I remember my parents trying to get me to come back to eat my food because I wanted to be in the play area.
Yeah, exactly.
Did any of you actually have a place that actually had a ball pit? I remember when McDonald's still had a ball pit.
No. Most of the time, the ball pits were places like Chuck E. Cheese's and Showtime Pizza.
Yeah.
I went to one that did have a ball pit.
I do remember a couple that had ball pits.
I think so. I remember places that had ball pits, but those also kind of disappeared after a little while. I think just
all the play places basically disappeared because of cleaning upkeep and all that jazz.
Yeah, no, it's true. And
I can't blame them because I would want that job.
It's a real shame. And did you ever have McDonald's that had did you ever have any birthday parties at McDonald's?
Yeah, friends did.
No, I don't think I ever did.
But when you had those parties, did you ever have the McDonald's caboose?
I don't know the caboose.
You don't know the caboose?
What is the McDonald's caboose?
Oh my gosh. Well,
that's what you get from having too much McDonald's.
Well, there were so many restaurants that had literally a rolling stock, an old time caboose. Here, let me throw it up here, give you guys an example of what I mean. And so this is where they would they would have their birthday parties in these cabooses. And it was just like, I mean, you put kids love trains to begin with, right? Like there's no question about that.
Trains are amazing. I can vouch for that. I've literally been to a place in Strasburg, Pennsylvania, where they filmed 10 Years of Thomas, the VHS tape, the popular children's show. I've been to that exact location where it was filmed. They have a preservation railway there. And they have a place, I believe it's called the Comfy Caboose, Cozy Caboose. I can't remember what the name of it. I apologize. But you can literally go into the cabooses and stay in like a hotel overnight. It's so cool. And cabooses are just fun. So why does McDonald's not have a caboose anymore?
It's a good question. I'm not sure why. It's a very, very good question.
Maybe it's a regional thing.
It could be a regional thing, you know.
Oh, it's called the Red Caboose. My bad. Go to the Red Caboose. That's a cool place. Anyways, continue.
Well, I mean, looking at it, it looked like there were quite a few of them all over both America and in Canada, from one coast to the other, actually. So I guess this was a bit of a thing for a while, but then again, they got rid of them, unfortunately, and they went the way of the dodo, just like
this is why we can't have nice things.
This is why we can't have nice things. But you know, you guys you raise a really good point. Like, it really does feel in hindsight, looking at these things, looking at these original mascots and how they're no longer really all that prominent, McDonald's really did shift away from aiming towards kids. And I wonder, was that a winning strategy for them?
It's really debatable because, like, I'll be real here. Like, I'm not a McDonald's fan by any means, but I do know I can recognize how to, you know, sell your product and becoming something that's beloved to many people. I was a Burger King kid, just FYI. But it's one of those where I'd be really curious to see. What's that?
Because of those nightmares?
Yes, because of those nightmares. Ronald McDonald would try to steal my younger brother, and then I try to like bite him on the leg as he tries to take him away. And I woke up and proceeded to probably, hopefully, never have those dreams anymore, except maybe like one more time. But besides my childhood trauma, yeah, no, I much preferred Burger King. It was way better. But I will say though, McDonald's has this magical nostalgic connection for so many people. So I don't understand. I would have to see the sales figure, but I think it's kind of also a problem with just American culture, is where they're focused a little too much on the profits. And unlike, say, like Eastern cultures, they're not focused enough on the pride and the culture. And I guess in this case, our culture is a clown. Maybe that's why they stopped. I don't know.
I think there are a lot of executives out there who are embarrassed to be in charge of the companies they run. And McDonald's is probably one of those. I think they wish they could sell something else instead of cheeseburgers with a clown, which is a shame, because I think you should lean into that.
Yeah, exactly. It's making it into something it's not. So it's making it into something it's not. And you think about it, McDonald's is one of the most successful franchises, period. They own some of the most land out there. You think they would really just go all in with their brand, you know, like basically making like McDonald's Chuck E. Cheese type stuff, because they can basically kind of like Apple or something, they can do whatever they want. So
you did touch on
think they would go for it. What's that?
You did touch on something there about corporate culture, or that relates to the corporate culture at McDonald's. They're really a real estate company that has a restaurant attached to it.
Oh,
yeah. The real money that McDonald's makes is in real estate.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, isn't that why Red Lobster just went bankrupt? Because they had some sort of hedge fund company buy the corporation, sell all the land, and lease it back to the restaurants at an inflated rate. That's my understanding of what happened.
You know, that makes so much more sense than, because everybody's blaming the
endless shrimp.
The endless shrimp. But you know, going into that, what your costs are going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. What you outlined makes so much more sense than endless shrimp killing Red Lobster.
That's what I read. So maybe that's actually what happened. Similar to what happened with Toys R Us being blown up in the United States, at least.
Mm-hmm.
But it's okay. Remember, didn't the CEO say it was all because of the iPhones and stuff? It totally had nothing to do with bad decisions over the years at all, right? Nothing like that. It's not like they had really overpriced products. I miss Toys R Us.
But you know, going going back to what you were saying though, Nolan, I do remember when McDonald's had that really hard push to rebrand itself. You were saying before that you remember when things were changing more towards the healthier aspect of food. They were putting more of an emphasis on working out, on clean eating and clean foods and whatnot.
It's funny because just today I was talking to someone I work with about this. When I was young, they used to have these things on Nickelodeon called the Day of Play, where basically they wouldn't even show any of the cartoons that day. They would just basically for a few hours put a thing up that basically says, with kids sounds in the background, basically saying, go outside and play. And you wouldn't be able to watch your cartoons. So you could either go to Cartoon Network or you could go outside and play. And usually my luck, I was usually having an outside day the day prior, and then I wanted to watch cartoons that day, and then that would happen. But yeah, no, there was such a shift going on. It was all about like recycling and healthy foods and all that. I remember there's a Blue's Clues song about eating healthy snacks. Like that was the thing. So I really think a lot of companies were kind of trying to push out of the whole like, hey, let's have burgers, and diabetes and childhood obesity and all that. Let's try to shift out of that to go for a more healthy focus. And I think really that might have been what really hurt the brand image of McDonald's when it came to these characters, because they've never really come back in the same force as they have now. And usually it seems like when they break them out, unless it's Ronald himself, which is still used for kids, it seems like they're targeting more the people who grew up with it as opposed to the kids.
All these things that they told us in the 90s were healthier turns out not to be true. So you had like this push to have McDonald's fry in vegetable oil because that was going to be healthier than the frying medium they were using, which was beef tallow, because McDonald's bought huge amounts of cattle. The fat was rendered into beef tallow. That's what they fried in. That's why their fries were so delicious. They tasted like beef. Yeah. And on top of that, they also fried their hot apple pies in that.
No way.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Right. So now you have this pale imitation, the baked apple pie that, is open and dry. So it would be healthier to still fry in the beef tallow instead of the vegetable oil. But, health do-gooders in the 90s swore up and down that beef was going to kill you. You got to fry in the vegetable oil that's so much healthier.
Well, I mean, there was that whole push with butter as well. I can't believe it's not butter. Margarine is much better for you, et cetera, and so forth. But you're right. We've sort of gone full circle and realized, hey, beef, like, how do you even say this?
The more natural your food is, the healthier it is. At least that's what we believe now. I believe it very strongly.
I do too. Like but more than that, things like fats that are from animals, the proteins that they give, butter, high fat milk. This was all stuff that was anathema, right? And I remember when McDonald's was really trying to make this big healthy push, they were starting, like they were panicking. They were introducing salads and whatnot. And people were like, why would there be salad at McDonald's? Good gravy. And yet that's what it was. But, going back to Nolan's point, you're absolutely right. I am noticing that when these characters are being brought back out, it's more to tickle the nostalgia funny bone of adults than it is aimed towards children. So on screen here, we've got these McNuggets, and I remember not too long ago, the other day, I went to a McDonald's and they'd brought the McNuggets back, but they were in this sort of, it was this completely different type of like, hang on, let me throw
was it the adult Happy Meal that the rapper did?
The adult Happy Meal with some guy called Kerwin Frost. And I'm like,
Happy Meal?
Who the heck is Kerwin Frost? And yet, it was you can see on screen there, they came back with these new nuggets who were just not quite what we recalled from the days of yesteryear. Let me put it that way. But
it would be like if back in the 70s or 80s, McDonald's decided we're going to do the McNuggets, but we're going to dress them up like the Parliament Funkadelic.
Yeah.
It reminds me of like the overhaul to the designs reminds me of kind of like when you went from like the 30s Alvin and Chipmunks designs to like the 80s one. It's like you can still tell it's going for the same thing, but it's like, man, it's different, bro.
Yeah.
And so part of me wonders, was it because of the fact that maybe people were starting to attack McDonald's for aiming their products at kids so much and targeting kids? Because again, there were laws in place when it came to marketing towards children, even back in the 80s, where if you had a cartoon, like let's say the GoBots, you weren't allowed to actually have GoBots commercials during that cartoon. Like you had to air those GoBot toys commercials in other cartoons, which I think is part of the reason why you had these giant blocks of cartoons, because they were all advertising for each other.
If only we had these kinds of restrictions on TikTok.
Well, the legislation that came around in the 90s to make everything more palatable for kids really killed off so many things like that. And you know, we kind of been dancing around it, but yeah, there was a push by adults to make sure that corporations couldn't advertise to kids, and in a weird backhanded sort of way, it made being a kid less fun.
Yeah, and I find that there's a lot of this happening in terms of things that used to be fun, which have been legislated or bureaucratized out of existence, and which kind of makes things really suck right now.
It loses the soul, and then the things that are supposed to be the fallback when those things don't have soul have lost their soul for completely different reasons.
Right. So you get a relaunch of He-Man that's no longer interested in selling toys to little boys anymore,
and instead selling to collectors and whatnot. Yeah, and so it's got more adult themes, and it tickles the nostalgia funny bone once more. But again, it's a sort of a limiting circle, right? Because
these companies don't get kids, it seems like. Sorry to interrupt, but it's
I think a lot of these. Yeah, keep going.
Go ahead.
I think a lot of these executives and creatives don't have any of their own, so they don't know what kids want anymore.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Or they're just so engulfed in their job, they don't spend any time with their kids to really know. They just assume, oh, they like TikTok or Taylor Swift. Like, yep, that's definitely kids. We know everything about them. Like, it needs to. They did a lot of work, you know, back then, as we were talking about, like GoBots a few episodes ago, where it's like you do those shows to sell the toys. That's how cartoons worked, you know, like. The thing that kept the cartoons going was the toy sales. And I don't think there was really anything wrong with it as long as you didn't have anything malicious or trying to exploit, you know, their attention for every chance you get. You know, you got to have a fair trade-off in everything within reason, you know, in a corporate society. And I feel like a lot of these shows, you know, they don't try to push any toys. So it's like, you're just kind of asking, unless your show is a mega hit like SpongeBob, it's probably going to be canceled after a season or two. And speaking of canceled, I would like to I think it's probably the best time to bring it up. There was actually going to be an early 2000s cartoon based off the McDonald's characters.
Really?
I believe. Yeah, it might have even come out. I think there might have been a few VHS tapes or DVDs released of it, but I think it was only like 6 episodes, or it did make it there. But I know it was lost media for a little bit because it was hard to find all the episodes, but it's obscure, and I'm surprised there wasn't a harder push for it because, like I said, growing up, there was Ronald, of course, but maybe Grimace I could recognize, but they were not pushing them hard back then. I connected more when they had the Star Wars Revenge of the Sith kids meals toys out. That was awesome.
So the only thing that Google shows me is something called The Wacky Adventures of Ronald McDonald.
I think that was it.
An animated miniseries of retail direct-to-video episodes. And there was a total of 6 40-minute episodes, which were produced and released on VHS in around 1998 to 2003.
What, 6? I got that right. Wow.
Oh, that's interesting.
I got to assume you could buy them with a meal or something.
No, it was direct to retail, so you could probably buy them at Walmart.
Okay. Oh my gosh. Do you guys remember when Burger King and such used to do like video game promotions? Like they would have like the Burger King, like the King, the game where you could be like the creepy mascot and like sell burgers to people. I think it could play on both the Xbox and the 360. Like there was like a bit of a video game push going on, and it was weird, and the games I heard were really bad.
Oh yeah, for a while there, video games were the new frontier in advertising. You got the Kids Club, Kid Vid in the back was a video game kid. You had the Sprite game where the spot from that red spot in the logo for 7-Up was you played as him.
Yo, Noid.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was The Domino's mascot had a game.
Yo-Noid on NES.
Yep.
Yo-Noid.
Yeah, there was a lot of stuff like that.
Well, now that you're talking about this, it's all starting to come back to me now. I remember those. I remember the red spot. That's hilarious. Hang on. And then Yo-Noid as well. This is the game right here, right?
That's the one.
Yes, that's it. I hear, okay, I don't know the exact reason, but I hear the reason that they got rid of him was because Domino's had that whole promotion where it's like, you get in 30 minutes or it's free, and everybody was crashing and people were abusing the system. They had to get rid of it, or they were made to get rid of it. So I don't know if that's why he disappeared or not, but I know he is kind of still around again, but I know he kind of went away for a while.
I feel like I've seen Noid somewhere recently, and I can't put my finger on where exactly. But going back to this though, the Burger King Kids Club, I think this was late 80s, early 90s. Correct me if I'm wrong.
These kids are cool.
Well, yeah, they are cool. And they certainly kind of hit all of the demographic check marks, right? And
at least back then it came from a place of goodwill as opposed to how much can we exploit this?
And I mean, Kid Vid was obviously the coolest one. Everyone wanted to be Kid Vid, right, Martin?
Yeah, sure.
No.
I'll get the goggles.
And they've got these really interesting kind of toys and whatnot. And Kid Vid reminds me of a bit of a ripoff of Captain N from the
I was gonna say, yeah.
cartoon.
Do they have like a Burger King equivalent of Mother Brain? Is it like Ronald McDonald but looking like a monstrosity, like in a tube or something?
Well, no, they don't. But it's
like a villain. They had a clubhouse, but I don't think they had a villain.
Yeah,
they could have made fun of McDonald's with that. Why did they do that?
They could have done that, but what I really kind of enjoyed, and this is an older meme, but it still checks out, is that somebody ended up doing where are they now for the Burger King Kids Club kids?
Oh my God.
When I first saw this, I couldn't stop laughing.
This is because Burger King did do the healthier food in the 90s, I guess.
Are they all in Rascals? No, not all of them.
No, Wheels is dead already, I guess, from all that Burger King.
Oh man, this is what too much Burger King does.
In this image right here, like I love it. Kid Vid still has the goggles and the oxygen tank, and yeah.
Oh man.
I've got an idea.
Artists put good work into this.
Yeah, they did. It looks a little like the animation from Recess.
Oh my God, you're right.
It's entirely possible, but I mean, I have a feeling if they were actually true to, if they did this with the McDonald's characters and they actually sort of, showed the effects of eating McDonald's for 40 years, they would look like this as well. Ronald McDonald did like a scooter or something.
Everything in moderation, kids.
Right. This, I don't know why this made me think of it. Maybe it's just the kids club. So Burger King tried to have their own McDonald land by creating the kids club, and it was ultimately short-lived.
Yeah.
But perhaps all these attempts to make a big splash in the culture by creating these mascots never really worked as well as it did with the McDonald land characters, because the McDonald land characters were piecemeal. You started out with some local franchisee who hired a local TV radio personality, a guy named Willard Scott, to be the character, and they created Ronald McDonald.
Yep.
So the weatherman, Willard Scott, was the original Ronald McDonald, and it just grew from there. And they added things and they took things away, and it was more ground up. But eventually these companies all got so big, they're trying to impose everything from the top down, and it just doesn't catch fire the way this did.
Yeah, it wasn't given the proper. It's like you want a tree out of a seed. It's like you got to go through a lot of stuff to get a big old tree.
Right. I mean, can you imagine McDonald's doing something today because some franchisee was having success with it? I bet that very rarely happens.
Well, and you're absolutely right. It is piecemeal, and it's almost kind of, just sort of train of thought. Hey, look, let's make this guy a character. Let's make this thing a character. Let's anthropomorphize this. We just discovered that Grimace here on screen. I always thought he was some type of grape or like a jelly bean or something. It turns out he's actually a taste bud.
He looks like a demented Teletubby or a Booba.
From something's mouth. And Martin, you were saying that Grimace was actually a villain.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he was called the Evil Grimace, and I think he had 4 arms.
Wow.
4?
That sounds horrifying.
Ugh. Yeah, well, 2 on each side.
So how do you get a 4-armed villainous taste bud? Like, what was the thought process behind that? Or was that just sort of like a very creative imagination? We'll leave it at that.
I don't know. I think it might have had something to do with lysergic acid.
Yeah, that's what you used to wash your hands with, right? Anyway, I digress. But what I find really fascinating now, though, is McDonald's has pushed away from these characters, and yet by doing so, they've ceded control of them in some way to social media, because they reintroduced the Grimace milkshake, which was this purple milkshake, I don't know, berry flavored thing recently. And that created this viral trend.
The world stopped that day.
Yeah. So now there's this huge trend on TikTok, and like elementary school kids are talking about the Grimace shake, where like somebody started doing these memes of some kids being like, Daddy, get us a milkshake. He's like, all right, here you go. And then they drink it, and it cuts to them, I guess, after having consumed it, passed out on the floor or dead with purple cream all around their mouth. And like kids are saying like, the Grimace milkshake is deadly, don't drink it, man. So it's taken on this,
ironically, the most impact they've had with kids in like 20 years.
Yeah, but you don't
maybe
want
30.
You don't want kids associating your product with like death.
And it tasted like Dimetap.
Right?
Maybe the teenagers buying it were making up for it in retrospective, though.
Well, you know, even my son came back and he's like, oh yeah, the Grimace shake, you got to watch out for it. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And then like I had to research this. And like, it's just, yeah. So all that to be said, you know, when these corporations pull back from these characters that they've created, that they have implanted in our popular culture, they have to be ready to lose control of them. And now Grimace is being associated with a poisonous milkshake because I guess McDonald's didn't feel the urge.
It wasn't poisonous. It was that Grimace was a psycho. That's what the main trend I was seeing, at least on my end of the internet. Yeah, so it was even worse, really. Like if you drank it, like he was gonna like basically hunt you down, and that if McDonald's wasn't scary enough as it is,
so like a Freddy Fazbear kind of thing.
Yeah, kind of like yeah, it's like you drink the shake and he'd like hunt you down and do it, and he would leave you all like with the drink all over you and kind of like, you know, dead or whatever. Yeah, okay, it was creepy. It was creepy, dude.
According to Forbes, McDonald's new milkshake has gone unexpectedly viral on TikTok. Of course, it's from TikTok, inspiring a horror-themed meme in which people pretend to suffer a gruesome fate after tasting the Grimace shake. And it says, Grimace, McDonald's Muppet-like mascot, has undergone a dramatic transformation for Gen Z, the cuddly monster now depicted as a demonic entity. Videos of teenagers drinking the shake and saying, happy birthday, Grimace, before succumbing to Lovecraftian madness and purple-splattered death are racking up millions of views on TikTok.
It was funny. But you make a great point, because when you kind of leave your character just dormant, it's just asking for it, you know, to eventually come back. And unlike Mickey Mouse or something, you know, it's like everybody knows who Mickey Mouse is. There's a modern interpretation to where people can be like, okay, this is parody. This is this. This is literally like, I'd say with like in your situation, Hangry, like kids are going to see this from the teenagers now, which is probably going to be a huge hit, like the most relevant they've been in ages and going to make a lot of money with the TikTok and all that. But then now the little kids are going to be like, oh no, Grimace, it's evil, which maybe it'll come around. Maybe it'll be like me. The things I found scary when I was young, I might end up really liking it when I get older, but it could also hurt in the long run because they've been neglecting these characters. So they'll see it as okay, I'm never in McDonald's ever. Like, who knows? Only the
but horror is one of those weird things. And like people really latch on to the characters. I mentioned Five Nights at Freddy's, Freddy Fazbear.
True.
My kids, because of that, they became more interested in
Chuck E. Cheese.
Chuck E. Cheese's. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Which, by the way,
that's cool.
If you haven't been in one in a while, the pizza's actually better than I remembered.
Oh.
Did they make it good again? Or was it ever good?
How would you rank it compared to Domino's or a Costco?
Okay. Better than Domino's used to be, not quite as good as it is now. It's decent. I was expecting to taste more like cardboard with a little sauce on it. It was better.
Wow.
Well, I think they had to make up for it because there were all those like rumors that they were like reusing pizza that had already been served or whatever. So they probably kind of had to up their game.
I heard those. Wow.
Yeah, my kids are talking about that.
No, that's hilarious.
During the pandemic, like that was kind of a thing where they were like, hey, does Chuck E. Cheese like reuse it? And then they were trying to actually like sell their pizza as like a store-bought thing. It was weird. It was weird.
I saw them listed on DoorDash.
Oh.
Really?
But the great question is who's going to the kids' casino for their pizza for DoorDash?
True enough.
Yeah. Now is Chucky actually going to, deliver it to you? Because that might be a little bit terrifying.
I've heard they're actually getting rid of the Chucky animatronics.
Really?
Yeah. That is so dumb because if you're Chuck E. Cheese, all the financial stuff going on, you should be embracing FNAF. Like, that's keeping your brand relevant, and you're doing away with your most iconic thing. That is just dumb.
And sorry, go on, Martin.
I miss Chucky, who looked like a sideshow barker with a cigar. Myself.
Fair enough. But that is a really good point, and it's making me rethink what I said just a moment ago. In that, yes, the Grimace is now being associated with this Lovecraftian madness murder monster, but I think that's actually a point of appeal for these kids. Like they're probably thinking like, this is going to be so much fun. Let's do our own TikTok of like suffering, our death from the Grimace shake or like our descent into purple madness. But it does goes to show that when you do create these popular characters, when you do create these beloved members of pop culture, you do have a responsibility to keep shepherding them along, because if you don't, someone else is going to grab them and take them into weird directions that you don't want them to go. Or at the very least,
that's the trend nowadays with a lot of like horror. Like it's already big to set horror in the past because the modern day cell phone and all that. It's harder to get in situations. But that's another thing too. It's like analog horror. It's like old TV stations or old costumes and puppetry you would have seen back then. Part of why it's so creepy is one, they kind of looked like that, but two, it really had a lot of that charm and it could really translate well to horror, and people like grasping onto some, the success of Five Nights at Freddy's or Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared, stuff that really clings on to that stuff that was aimed at kids. And, you guys are kind of swaying me the other way too here, and that's easy for me to do because I love this kind of stuff. But yeah, if you really kind of embrace, the more creepy look of it. I mean, if it clicks with the kids these days, like maybe give the kids what they want as long as you're not, traumatizing them.
But, and I think that also applies to corporations that still maintain their characters in some ways and yet are trying desperately to reinvent them for modern audiences or the like. Picture Star Wars. Picture the what Disney has done with the Lucasfilm properties with all those characters. And then picture the crazy memes that have come out of that as a result of them losing control of the pop culture narrative surrounding these characters. Like things like the Anakin meme where he's sitting in the field with Padme and she's like, yeah, you're joking, right? And that went off. Or the more adult version of the Obi-Wan Luke, I've ever told you the time meme, right? Like I'm sure they're furious with those things. But that's partly their fault because they lost control of their own creations and trying to. Yeah,
people don't take the lore as seriously anymore. And there was already parody. There was already stuff of Darth Vader dancing around. Yeah. But especially if you really, it's your job, whether you're in charge of a company or a storyline, you got to be able to ride that line between parody and what's straight in the source material. And if you nosedive off a cliff, like if you reinvent a character, say you modernize it, and I don't just mean in the day and age today. There were times in, like, say, the 80s and the 90s where they tried to, reinvent characters, and a lot of them were huge successes. A lot of them, were known for being failures. They tried to, like, revamp the Disney afternoon and make it like all skateboard do, brah, and it didn't work. And I think you're seeing that a bit today where they're chasing after the modern audience, and sometimes they're getting it right, but a lot of the times, it's not landing with the general public and with these consumers. And it doesn't mean you can't modernize something, because they clearly did it in the 80s and it worked. But I think it kind of depends on, should this thing really be modernized? And two, are you really going after what your audience is really wanting? I think that's the deepest question.
Well, I mean, when you become a meme, you know that you've lost something. I don't know.
In some ways, yes. In some ways, no, I would say.
Yeah?
Like, yeah, in some ways, it can really bring you back into relevancy. I would say Lazy Town is a great example. Like, that brought more attention to it. When We Are Number One went huge, like, it really made a lot of people look back at Lazy Town like, oh my gosh, this was actually a great underrated kids show. But sometimes it can really be into your detriment, because now, like, say with, like, maybe Grimmett, maybe not the best example, I think that's one of the most things that's going to be associated with him probably for a very long time now, unless they really try to bring him more to the forefront. But we do also live in the day and age of the internet, where I think people also take for granted that once kids get to a certain age these days, they can look up the answers online of what these characters were through either the bunches of YouTube documentaries, Wikipedia, all that have you. So I don't think it's just going to be the face value thing all the time with the TikTok or what they see on TV. I think I remember when I was young, there were times where me or say my cousin were fooled by some things online, and we took a parody as the source material. So I think they shouldn't overlook so much that kids are going to look at things on the internet. It's just kind of part of the culture now.
Well, I think we do all agree, though, that the Grimace Shake thing was a loving send-up of it. Everybody's having fun with that because they like the character, right? I don't think none of it was mean-spirited.
No.
Yeah, I think it was a good thing in the long run. I think it was hilarious.
It's hilarious, but I'm sure it caused a lot of anxiety in the C-suite of McDonald's when they realized that this beloved character was being associated with Lovecraftian murder and death and madness. But
here's the question: were all the people in the business suits, were they scared of him? Like, did they have like a catering thing for all of them to have like a Grimace Shake, and the lights go out and he's attacking the fancy CEOs?
I bet nobody
damage.
Nobody at McDonald's corporate's eating McDonald's food.
Yeah, probably.
Valid point.
Speaking of Lovecraftian horror, okay, Martin, you just sent this to me. Explain what is this?
What is that?
This is Cosmic. He was an alien.
Like the little aliens from the Muppets.
Right. He was an alien who had come to Earth to abduct McDonald's food because he loved it so much.
I don't remember this.
Okay, that is cute.
But I feel like I'm going insane now.
And my
you don't want to move to McDonald's land?
Sure.
My kids wanted me to bring him up because McDonald's has a new spin-off restaurant called Cosmix. That was the second to last link I sent you. They're bringing back this character as the main mascot for this new restaurant thing they're doing. They're trying to do like afternoon snacks and coffees and stuff like that. They're trying to get into the Starbucks market with Cosmix.
Interesting.
Wow. This is new information to me.
Yeah, this is new too. I didn't know that McDonald's was doing a spin-off restaurant.
Yeah.
It's a good character to choose. I like that they're going into their archive.
Look at this. But
wow.
This is neat. When did this hang on, I'm gonna throw it up on screen. When did this start happening, Martin?
Because
this is like news to me.
Yeah, like late 2003. I think they opened one up in Illinois or something like that.
2003?
Wow.
Okay, I'm really out of the loop.
I'm sorry. No, 2023. I did say 2003.
Oh, okay.
2020.
I do like how that looks like a 90s like shop. I like that. That's pretty cool.
Well, and that curve that looks like the rings of Saturn is also like the McDonald's arch, little bent.
Yeah. Actually, the arch was the first thing I think. I didn't even get the Saturn comparison. Wow, you're right.
it's just different enough that it takes you a moment to think, hey, wait, what does this remind me of?
Mm-hmm.
That is really neat. And
that
so
is a really good aesthetic.
Starbucks now. Yeah.
I would say, you know, I've been very critical of McDonald's all my life for my Ronald McDonald past and all of that. And I gotta say, I think this is a very good move for them. I think that's a very charming aesthetic. And if it creates more opportunities for people to have more opportunities to be social in person, like actually sit down at these, like, I think that would be for the good of the world. So I hope it goes okay and doesn't just kill a bunch of coffee shops.
And I might be mistaken on that, but is that building Grimace purple?
That's a good point. Well, there are only 2 of these restaurants so far. The first one was opened up in Illinois, and the second was in Dallas. And it's saying, like you said, Martin, it's intended to sell afternoon snacks, drinks, and coffee, and has been seen as an attempt by McDonald's to enter the United States coffee market and the growing market for drive-through beverages. They also intend to focus on customizable drinks. Well, you know, throw a Playland in there, and I think you'd be laughing. I can imagine you have a couple of parents with some rowdy kids. They want to go get their kids out of the house. They throw them into a Playland at Cosmics, and they have a bunch of drinks. They spend a few hours there talking, turning McDonald's back into a social gathering place. Whereas now the restaurants are entirely focused on, we are going to make these seats functional yet uncomfortable, so you leave as soon as possible and you don't enjoy seeing these McDonald's. That actually was one of their strategies in their redesign. Like everything,
and they won't even let you smoke anymore.
but everything in a modern McDonald's now, like the table height is just a little
get in, get out.
High. Yeah, the seats are just a little uncomfortable. Like it's not someplace you want to park yourself with a laptop and sit for 10 hours, right? But maybe if they did this and catered to that market, it might work. Who knows?
It's got potential as long as it's like Starbucks, you know, to where it's not just, you know, killing a bunch of small businesses. Because at least where I'm from, usually there's a healthy mixture between Starbucks and like trendy coffee places, which are some of my favorite places, by the way. So don't you dare McDonald's. But I think as long as this can be in happy unity and not just be a virus on everything, I think this could be a very good horizon for them.
You know, every once in a while, McDonald's does this sort of thing. I think probably 20 years ago, maybe less than that, I heard rumors that they were going to do like regional menu items, and not just like a barbecue burger down in Texas, but like I think I heard in Florida they were going to do like Cuban and Spanish style food menu items, and then like the Northeast maybe do some Italian, or no, like the Midwest maybe do some Italian stuff. I heard a rumor.
I would have said do fair food.
Hey, everybody loves elephant ears.
Yes. Ooh.
Well, on that note, I think it's time to wrap this up and maybe go hit up a drive-through after this. Gentlemen, that was a real pleasure strolling down that nostalgic memory lane with you both.
I loved it.
Yeah, this was great. Fun. I'm hungry.
This was fun.
Members, audience members, what did you think about all of these old McDonald's Land characters? Did you like them? Did you enjoy their? Did you have fond memories playing in the McDonald's Land playlands?
Were you traumatized by Ronald McDonald like me, everybody?
Are you on Team Burger King like Nolan?
Was there anybody we didn't hit? I mean, we like the Little Caesar. Or who else?
Well, Little Caesar's still around, I think, isn't he? But
yeah, no, he's still around. He's pretty prominent. He's still in the box all the time. Like he's still used quite a bit.
I will say there is one final thing about McDonald's that I miss, and it's these.
Oh,
what?
That lemon flavor shortbread cookie. Oh, they were so good.
Man, they were delicious. It was a better time, Nolan. It was a better time.
A better time.
We were a proper country.
We were. Well, on that note, members, if you like this conversation, please leave us your thoughts down below. Please leave us your comments. We love to read them. If you have any suggestions or ideas or topics for us to cover, we would love to do that. Anything that is lost, anything that might have been forgotten that deserves to be dragged back out into the spotlight, we would love to talk about. So please, please, please give us your thoughts. Leave them down below. So until next time, we are the Lost Guys, and we are
Get lost.
Getting lost. Have a good one.
Have a good one.
We hope you enjoyed this presentation of the Lost Guys here on That Pod Place. Be sure to subscribe for more content like it, and you can become a member at That Pod Place here on YouTube to see more of the Lost Guys every Friday as soon as the guys record an episode. Let us know your thoughts on this intriguing topic in the comments down below. Please comment, like, and share this video, and don't forget to subscribe to That Park Place Podcasts Online, your source for exclusive content and highlights from WDW Pro, The Pro Show, and That Park Place for all the news that should be fun.